talk to us about the stakes for India in this war on Iran.
Look, GCC is a very important trading partner for India. It's the largest trading partner, $178 billion worth of trade last year. We have 10 million people in the region. Their remittances are 1/3 of the total remittances that India gets. And of course, there is a question of energy security. And while bulk of Indian imports are from the Gulf, and especially after US has put the pressure and said we cannot import oil from Russia, the dependence on the Gulf becomes greater. So as a result, for India, Indian economy, it's extremely important that there is stability there. Already there's pressure to repatriate the Indians. It'll be impossible to bring 10 million people back. There's a rush of people getting out of these countries. So the longer the conflict continues, the more complicated the situation gets for India.
How vulnerable is India's energy security right now? How would you describe it?
Well, I think we built up sufficient reserves. So according to the petroleum minister, we have enough for maybe 2 months, a month and a half. I have no doubt India will have to go back to importing Russian oil and tell the US that thanks to them for what is happening in the Gulf, we can't just not import oil from Russia. So we'll have to start looking at other sources. I'm sure they're talking to all these countries at the moment. But the hope is that this will probably not continue beyond a certain point. Although at the moment it's become a war of attrition, there is a miscalculation, I think, on the part of US and Israel, thinking that if they take out the supreme leader, the regime will tumble and there'll be cracks and popular uprising will take place. That's not happened. There's a transition in the leadership that has happened. We'll also see a new supreme leader being named. And I think what the former supreme leader has done is he's created layers of succession. He knew that they will take it out. It happened in case of Hezbollah. Israel took out a series of leaders who succeeded the previously killed one. So Iran's prepared for it. And they've also delegated, I think, authority to the operational levels of the army, that even if the command and control is interrupted, those ones will go on acting. But I think what complicates it further is the attacks by Iran on the GCC countries. Now, India could do a better balancing if it was just Israel, US versus Iran. But especially the attack on civilian, on hotels, on civilian buildings, even though they may have been, according to Iran, US or CIA or Mossad sources there, that complicates it.
Ambassador, you earlier suggested that succession plans are already in place for Iran. We just had the U.S. CENTCOM posting on X suggesting that the U.S. forces have destroyed Islamic Revolutionary Command and also control facilities as well as the Iranian air. What do you make of that? How significant is that in the context of what you have just shared with us?
You see, the US are fighting a conventional war. They're taking out, and I think the Iranians are much better prepared after the confrontation in June last. At that point, they were taken by surprise. They took a long time to retaliate. So they've got underground facilities. They've got domestic capability to produce more drones. And I think what's happening is the asymmetry between what they spend on their drones and their missiles and what the countries they are targeting are spending on their counter-missile facilities. A $4 million missile is fired by, say, UAE or Qatar to stop maybe a $10,000 drone. So there is this asymmetry because of which Iran's prepared for it. And so far it appears that they have enough stock to carry on. And that's why Ali Larijani, the head of the national security, he has said that no, we were approached by the Americans to have ceasefire. We are not accepting it. I think they want to drag it on, punish Israel, do as much of bombing of Israel as they can. They have been penetrating the Iron Dome and raise the cost and regionalize the war, which means increase the price of oil. Now with what? In US also, it'll be just 6 or 7 months left to the midterms. And as you were discussing earlier, the shadow on a very important summit between President Xi and President Trump. President Trump has been putting a lot of weight on that. Now, the shadow will be there on that. Although the Chinese have also called up the Iranians and said, don't attack the GCC countries, because even they are finding it difficult to support Iran in all that Iran is doing to regionalize the war. That is not helping anyone.
A lot is at stake for India, but it goes beyond energy security. We know that the economy is also at stake. With a lot of Indians possibly going back home, remittances may get hit. Talk to us about the implications on the economy. What are the biggest risks here?
No, one is, of course, as a trading partner. As I said, it's the largest trading bloc India had, $178 billion worth of trade. And then Dubai is a major entrepot. A lot of trade goes there, and then it's sent off even to Pakistan. Quite a bit of India's trade. India may not be on talking terms with Pakistan, but a lot of goods are traded via Dubai. And then Dubai also becomes, through Dubai, things go to Central Asia. It goes to the rest of West Asia. So it's a very important trading hub for India. And of course, there are 10 million people sending 1/3 of India's over $100 billion worth of remittances annually, which helps us with balancing of payments, because we have a deficit there. And especially with the Gulf, because we are importing much more oil, then we are able to send products and goods to the Gulf. So it becomes a very, very difficult to replace it. And then there is a question of panic. If out of 10 million people, even 100,000 people come back, and bulk of them, about 1/3 of them are from Kerala, the southern state of Kerala. And Kerala is also going to elections, and BJP, the ruling party, is making a bid for power there. Now, if a lot of people of Kerala come back, that's going to be very negative for the government in Delhi, because people will say, look, you couldn't help us. We've lost our jobs. So it has domestic implications in India. It has trading implications, foreign exchange implications, and of course, energy, because of the price of oil going up.
Might there be a backlash against Prime Minister Modi given his visit to Israel just 24 hours earlier?
Look, I think what he's done by doing that is the domestic policy doesn't count on the Muslim votes. There's a very important election in West Bengal, and polarizing the votes has been important for the BJP, and it does not harm them. If anything, it helps them, because they're not counting on the Muslim vote. They're counting on the consolidation of the non-Muslim vote. But yes, it does affect what is seen as India's autonomy since 1947, although it is a fact. In 1971, we did sign an accord with the Soviet Union, which was as close as an accord could bring us to Soviet Union. This is before we fought the war with Pakistan and created Bangladesh. We needed one of the superpowers with us. So we did have a very close alliance with Soviet Union at that stage. So we can't say that tilting towards US has done something new. But yes, it does for the last at least 2-3 decades. Although we've tried to get very close to the US and to Israel, but completely being in one corner or appearing to be in one corner becomes very difficult to market then within India. It's being used today. Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, who's the prominent leader of the Congress party, she's written an op-ed criticizing it in one of the newspapers, that this is shifting India from its traditional foreign policy stance of being neutral. And the only advantage in being neutral is that then you can play a role. And the moment India cannot play any role in stopping the violence in the Gulf, we can only be a spectator or ring up countries which are getting harmed, etc.
There are already ramifications at home. We know that the war against Iran has sparked protests in Jammu, in Kashmir, in India. Is there reason to be concerned about that?
Yes, about 15% of the almost 200 million Muslims in India are Shias. And they're concentrated in a few major towns, Hyderabad, Lucknow. And that is why Prime Minister Vajpayee, who used to fight from Lucknow, he was also a BJP member, paid a lot of attention to Iran, although the geopolitics then was different. India and Iran at the beginning of this century were working closely to oppose the rise of Taliban in Afghanistan and what Pakistan was doing in Afghanistan. Prime Minister Modi visited Tehran, and then the president of Iran was a chief guest at a Republic Day celebration the following year. That was as close as India and Iran got. But once, of course, the nuclear discussions began with the West, we had to create a separation. And then, of course, that's a different story. But yes, it has implications because the Shias tend to vote for BJP. They don't vote along the Sunnis. And that's a vote that BJP has had in crucial states like Uttar Pradesh. And so now how they will vote hereafter, we don't know. But there would be implications.
Ambassador, it is quite clear that Iran is important to India's economy. Is it surprising then that Prime Minister Modi has not yet responded officially to the death of the Supreme Leader?
A foreign minister has called up the foreign minister. Yes, it's you can say that it could have been done differently. But India at the moment is at a very crucial point of negotiating a trade deal with the US. The US is extremely important to us. And at this particular point, I think the government chose that the benefit of appearing this way is more than the damage that can happen if we do overbalancing at this stage. But personally speaking, I would have liked to remain a little balanced, and certainly on the killing of leader, breaching of the sovereignty of Iran. And as it is, Secretary of State Marco Rubio couldn't explain very well why US entered the war. He came out with a very convoluted kind of argument. We anticipated that they would attack Israel, and therefore in anticipation we attacked is not a very good argument. And if the aim was change of regime, because already the dialogue was on between US and I think India was probably a bit taken by surprise. They gambled probably that maybe the dialogue will succeed. But yes, it's positioned India in a manner that it'll take some effort even after normalcy returns to reestablish again confidence between India and Iran.
Do you think India can actually maintain neutrality as it protects its interests in the Gulf?
Well, it seems the way the world is complicated today and the disruption in the global order, probably neutrality will prove expensive, and that's why neutrality is not that possible. Therefore, I think there'll have to be transactional arrangements and opportunism. That is going to be the hallmark all over the world of how countries deal with an evolving and splintered world.